Hello, people of the internet. My name is JD Shadow. Welcome to this special report, your news and views program about geek gaming culture on said internet. Coming up in the show today, yeah, we gotta talk about this again because it keeps happening. This thing will not go away. Jessica Price firing from ArenaNet because Mike O'Brien has officially responded to the critics of said firing, saying that he was doing this for misogynistic reasons. He decided to talk about it, and we are going to discuss what he said and the reactions to all of this because it has sparked quite the argument lately. All this in the OC remix track of the day is coming your way right about now. It is a story that keeps on giving. I've already created 3 videos concerning the Jessica Price fallout from her termination from ArenaNet after her accusing Deroir of misogyny, after Deroir responded quite responsibly to her tweets concerning MMORPG branching paths. And as you have no doubt seen, this has caused quite a stir. And quite frankly, I am one of those people who just want to get to the truth of the matter, and the truth lies somewhere in the middle, as most things do. However, Mike O'Brien has responded to a call from Polygon to respond to a story that they had published saying that ArenaNet quote-unquote folded like a cheap card table, says fired Guild Wars 2 writer. And of course, this is from the same Colin Campbell who was taken to task for his Doom review. In the article, she states, quote, "I was given no opportunity to argue my case. My manager was on vacation. O'Brien spent some time insisting that developers must be friends with the company's customers and that it was unacceptable to say that we aren't, even when we're not on the clock. He told me that I look back and regret this because we were doing great work and I'd ruined it. The whole thing was highly unprofessional. There was zero reason for him to be there. He wanted to vent his anger and he had the power to command a woman to stand there while he took his feelings out on her, so he did. Then he walked out, the manager got my stuff from my desk, and the HR person asked for my key card." She goes on to state, quote, "I was told during my interview and subsequent hiring communications that ArenaNet respected my willingness to speak up on issues in the industry and had no desire to muzzle me. I had in my time there 0 warnings about my social media use. Everything I said on Twitter was consistent with what I've been saying for years and how I've been saying it. I felt like it was too good to be true when they offered me a job. They promised me that I wouldn't have to check my identity at the door. They said that they admired my willingness to speak up about issues in the industry. There was so much that we were doing internally that encouraged me to hope and to trust them. They were executives talking about diversity and building a non-toxic work environment and acknowledging that talk wasn't enough, that they had to put money and effort and leadership behind it." She goes on to claim that there were meetings in which executives promised us that they wanted us to speak out about the ugly things, the harmful things, and that we wouldn't be punished for doing so. There was constant talk about how to make it the sort of place that you dream of working at. Not just because of the cool games we were making, not just because of the benefits and perks, but because it was going to be corrective to the exploitation and toxicity of so much in the industry. And so it is devastating that a company talking all that talk folded like a cheap card table the first time their values were actually tested. Doing the right thing is hard, sure, but doing it regularly makes it easier to keep doing it. And the corollary to that is that capitulating makes it harder to stop capitulating. Price also blames O'Brien for the subsequent harassment that she claims to have received, saying, "Let's be clear, in 2018, it's absurd to pretend ignorance of what would happen to a woman being fired for speaking about sexism because he feels she got too uppity. He painted a target on everyone's back. He didn't just fail Peter and me or even the employees to which he was responsible. He failed the entire industry. He caved to a handful of people and an army of bots and sock puppets. Now he's got almost every female developer I know, including some men, furious with him. I've got recruiters pinging me promising they'll steer candidates away from ArenaNet, and game design professors saying they're going to warn their students away. I've also had a lot of ArenaNet co-workers and other industry colleagues contacting me to express how afraid this has made them. And yes, this keeps going on and on. I will link to you the story in the description below this video. However, O'Brien had this to say in response to what Price had said. He says, quote, Jessica had identified herself as an ArenaNet employee on Reddit and Twitter, had been discussing episode 3 storytelling with fans on Reddit, and had written a 25-part tweet about how we tell stories in MMOs, relating it back to episode 3. She was representing the company. The expectation was to behave professionally and respectfully, or at least walk away. Instead, she attacked. Concerns have been publicly raised that she was responding to harassment. It's not my place to tell employees when they should or shouldn't feel harassed. In this case, however, our employees could have chosen not to engage, and they could have brought the issue to the company, whereby we would have done everything we could to protect them. We will not tolerate harassment. When an employee feels harassed, we want them to bring the issue to us so that we can protect the employee, deal with the issue, and use it to speak to the larger issue of harassment. Whatever Jessica and Peter felt internally about the situation, this was objectively a customer engaging us respectfully and professionally, presenting a suggestion for our game. Any response from our company needed to be respectful and professional. A perceived slight does not give us license to attack. We've all dedicated our careers to entertaining people, to make games for the purpose of delighting those who play them. We generally have a wonderful relationship with our community, and that's a point of pride for us. We want to hear from our players. It's not acceptable that an attempted interaction with our company, in this case a polite game suggestion, would be met with open hostility and derision from us. That sets a chilling precedent. The tweets were made on July 4th, when the studio was closed for the holiday. We were aware of them that day and decided we'd need to take action in the morning. The fact that the community's anger was escalating on July 5th could make it look like our action was a response to the community's anger, but that was not the case. We took action as soon as we practically could. I hate to let an employee go, and I wish the best for Jessica and Peter, as for any former employee, in whatever they choose to do next. Whatever your thought of the tweets, Jessica and Peter were also part of the team that brought you the kidnapping scene in episode 1, which was a wonderfully well executed scene. That's how I want to remember their time at ArenaNet. And to Peter's credit, he has responded with a bit of class to the whole situation, thanking everybody for his time at ArenaNet and thanking ArenaNet for employing him for the time that he has spent there. It is Price, on the other hand, that is continuing to slime ArenaNet to the point where you could safely say that maybe ArenaNet wants to take additional action against her for libel and slander at this point. And yeah, I have created a good bit of videos about this subject, and yeah, I'm creating another one because this story keeps developing. And no, we are not going to just roll over and just accept that some people are not happy that Price was fired, because quite frankly, while I have again stated that I was on the fence about Peter Freeze being fired, there is no doubt that Jessica Price deserved some form of reprimand. And from her other tweets, which were not covered here, and which were some things that I believe that the media has not covered, because quite frankly they haven't really covered the fact that Deroir never said anything even remotely misogynistic at any point in that tweet. I dare you to tell me otherwise. And it's easy to see why she was indeed let go. Like I said, she has said some pretty questionable things in the past, and she said she was given no warning about her social media footprint, but that doesn't say that she wasn't pulled aside in the past about her behavior. She had no reason, none, to do what she did. There was no reason given that she had to fly off the rails the way that she did. And to be quite honest with you, this is a new level I have yet to see anywhere. Even in the change of channel controversy, even in the whole thing regarding Lindsay Ellis and Dan Olsen, I've yet to see this level out of them at all. This is the kind of level that you saw David Pockman talk about in the Authoritarian Left video, which I implore you to actually go and watch, because this is an extreme version of what was going on with what he said about that Bernie Sanders rally and at the library when those Black Lives Matter proponents decided to to interfere with what a library is supposed to be. And things like female empowerment or equal rights for all men and women of any race, religion, sexual orientation, or what have you is something that any sane person would get behind. And if you do not think that I would be for that just because of me saying that Jessica Price was in the wrong here and she deserved what she got, then you do not know me that well. I had said at first that you are an idiot if you did not think that because you didn't see any of my other YouTube videos, but I don't think that is appropriate anymore to actively say because it talks down to the people who are watching my channel and do not know any of my other content that I make. There are people who are on the liberal side of things that feel as though this is not helping their cause at all. The progressive movement is being actually hurt by people like Jessica Price, and for that matter, like Lindsay Ellis, and like those people who disrupted the Bernie Sanders rally. They feel as though that is only pushing other people who would otherwise be on their side away because they feel as though those thoughts are way too extreme, that their tactics are way too extreme, and what they choose to fight has nothing to do with what the problems actually are. In this case, Jessica Price is not doing her progressive side any favors, and the media is doing themselves no favors in continuing to defend her and to slime the ArenaNet devs, the game, and the fan base for getting angry that someone who did not represent what ArenaNet is supposed to be all about, which is communicating the way that Mike O'Brien has said with their fan base, and the way that I know for a fact that they do because I was part of the Guild Wars 2 community for quite a while, so I have a firm understanding of what they are like. And for the most part, they are pretty friendly. There is some rough edges here and there, but for the most part, their fan base and their dev team are mostly on the up and up. Now, are there bad apples in the bunch? Of course there are. Who does not have those bad apples from time to time? I say all the time that Final Fantasy XIV has probably the most welcoming, friendliest, helpful community around, but even they have some bad apples from time to time, and I've seen that happen. That doesn't mean that I'm going to immediately slime the entirety of the fan base because I know better than that. And if you are a Guild Wars 2 community member, then you should know better than that than to say that every single person who called for Jessica Price to be reprimanded is a bad person. And I have to question those people who are in the Guild Wars 2 community who are defending Jessica Price here. She had no right to say to what she said. And if you're ignoring what she said to Jebbo, if you're ignoring what she said to Inks, if you ignore what she said about Total Biscuit's death, if you ignore anything else she has said, then I'm sorry, but that does not help matters any in this whole spectrum. Because here's the thing about it. This is behavior that would get anybody in any business a serious tongue lashing, if not worse. Why is gaming somehow different? And more to the point, why is it that because she's saying, oh, they fired me because of my gender, oh, this is all has to do with my gender, as if she is so unself-aware about what she even did, or thinking that what she did was even right. We have these people saying that, oh, Reddit was just a cesspool, or that the Guild Wars 2 community is so awful and so nasty from the people who are playing the game with them. Are you even in the same community as them? Where is this coming from? Why are we suddenly blindly believing these media news outlets which have been proven to be uncredible and unreliable? They have been known to circle the wagons. They've been known to take these stances. And yes, we agree. We are on the same side about things like female empowerment and things like equality in the workplace. We are with you in all of this. But why do you have to go that extra step to become authoritarian and so extreme about how you react and what you consider to be part of the problem? Deroir did nothing wrong. Again, how many times do we have to say it? He did nothing wrong. Look at the facts. Do some research, for God's sakes. Do some research, because I don't think the people who are blindly believing these media outlets are doing it. They're not actually looking at Deroir's tweet. They're not actually looking at it. And keep in mind that she is representing her company when she's doing this. If you are working for a company that strives to have an open communication dialogue with your customers, with your fans, with the people who stream your game, and then you decide that, hey, I'm going to say that, well, we don't really care about what you think. How do you think that's going to come across to people who have been playing it for decades and are expecting for the developers to be open and friendly with you? Sure, they don't have to tolerate trolls, but at the very least, do it the right way. And for that matter, Deroir was no troll. He was not a troll. Why is that the hardest thing we have to jump around? Is the very thing that instigated this in the first damn place. It is not a troll. He is a Guild Wars 2 streamer. Please get that through your heads, because that is the essential part of this. He said nothing sexist, and the firings had nothing to do with sexism. What she was trying to do was to silence a critique on her work, and she was going to use the gender card like so many people have done lately, because they know that's a sensitive topic right now, and she knows she's going to get support regardless of whether or not it is warranted. She's going to get people who are saying that, hey, this was a sexist move, even though it had nothing even remotely of the sort to it. She did that in order to squelch any form of criticism. She wanted for people to become uncomfortable in engaging with her about what they felt about her work. They bring up certain topics that happened in 2014. They bring up the gender card. They bring up those things, not because they actually do feel that sort of way, but it is because they know those sensitivities are so sensitive to people that they were going to blindly agree with those people just because they are in the same political spectrum. I'm in the same political spectrum that Jessica is, and I'm not going to agree with her the way she acted. But does that make me a conservative? Does that make me right-wing, alt-right, a Donald Trump supporter? Hell no, it doesn't. I don't like the guy that is in the White House right now. I did not vote for him either in the general or the primaries, though I did not vote for Hillary Clinton in the primaries because I think she is a corrupt politician. I voted for Bernie Sanders, and if you think that's a problem, so be it. But the problem here is that this is the way we are in the political spectrum right now. Why is it that this is the acceptable thing for somebody to act like a complete jerk to another person just because they wanted to have a conversation or they criticize her work? Why is that acceptable? Are you seeing what it is right now? You are accepting. This is not okay. What Mike O'Brien did was the right thing to do. I don't know how many more times I have to create this same video over and over again in order to get that through somebody's head. And maybe I'm being too harsh on people. Maybe I'm being too condescending to somebody, if that's the right word for it. But it's just the notion that how many more times is the same thing going to be said, that he never said anything wrong, that Deroir never said anything even remotely sexist or misogynistic, and the people who are saying, hey, wait a minute, that was the wrong thing to do, are right to call her out and have every right in the world to call for her to be at least reprimanded. Maybe not fired, but at least reprimanded. And she showed that she was going to double, triple, quadruple down, so who's to say she was going to apologize to begin with? And more to the point, why believe her? Just because she said it makes it true? There are conflicting stories here about whether or not she was pulled to the side. Why is it that because she is in the same political spectrum as any of us, what she did was right all of a sudden? Is me continuing to talk about this topic make me a bad person? Should I be scared to talk about these topics because somebody might think the wrong thing, or somebody might get so ultra offended that they put me on another block list, or whatever it is? Is it that much to ask that we use critical thinking instead of blindly instantly believing somebody just because they're in the same political party as we are? Is that what it's come down to? In order to be a progressive, we have to agree with every single progressive that ever lived? I subscribe to the Young Turks and 99% of the time agree with the things that they've said, but there are some times when I see Jank or a Conspirian go off the rails about something that I want to say, wait a minute, back up a second, that's not what this is about. And I so want to go through the screen sometimes when they talk about stuff and they start getting ultra defensive and ultra combative about things, and I just want to say, wait a minute, stop, slow down, here's another take on that story, maybe you should think about it. But you know what, does that mean that I am no more of a progressive than they are, or no more progressive than David Pockman or Dave Rubin is? No, that does not mean anything, just for the fact that, hey, I am a critical thinker, I am an individual, I have individual aspects, I have individual thoughts, and I should have individual responsibility for things I say. Same with Jessica, she is also an individual, she has individual thoughts, she should not be playing the gender card about every little thing she has. It makes people feel uncomfortable, which is probably her intention because she didn't want to answer any of the criticism that she got. It makes people not want to discuss things about that, and right now that is something that we need to have. We need to have more critical thinking here on these topics from people who might be on the same side but might have different opinions about what constitutes to a problem that needs addressed within that spectrum of female empowerment or equality or equal rights, and who is just using those things in order to get page clicks, or who is just using it in order to appease their masters. Remember, Kotaku is owned by Univision. Univision is owned by NBC Comcast. Comcast has a beef with net neutrality and has some people within the confines of Congress and might not be liking that independent media is smacking them down. Keep that in mind. What you did only makes it harder for those people who are victims of harassment, abuse, and targeting to be able to be heard, because they have to swim through the sea of these kinds of claims. All I am saying is to please listen to the side that is not exactly fond of what Jessica Price did. Actually listen to what they have to say. Find out why they're angry. Probably they have a great reason to be. Yes, we have understood that you believe that females and women in the workplace are being marginalized, and there's a good reason to think that, but this is not one of those cases, even though she is trying to claim that. And it is progressive to call out the people who are using that excuse in order to get away with something they shouldn't have done. And yes, maybe there is a little bit of bias through some of us because she did target certain people that we do respect. And you know what? That is something that you should expect on an opinion-based show. Yes, I do tell you what is going on, but I do give you my opinions on them. So yes, there is always going to be some subjectivity to this whole thing, because quite frankly, that is what you came to see. You came to hear my views, and that is just something that I feel as though that is within my obligation to tell you. The truth about what I believe is the problem in this whole ordeal. But even if I did not have an idol and total biscuit, the whole issue is that she shouldn't have never said what she did say there, or what she did to Deroir or Jebro or to MMO Inks or to whoever else that we do not know about yet. And yes, there have been a lot of videos from me about this, but this is an ongoing situation, and hopefully this is the last one I have to make for this particular issue, because there's a lot of other things that I need to discuss. Maybe we'll go into the original point, which again is getting completely lost in this whole mess, which is narrative design in MMOs. Where has that ever gone to? It seems as though that has been completely forgotten. So maybe in the future video, we'll go into great detail about narrative design in MMOs. Perhaps that is a topic that should be be discussed. But yes, hopefully this is something that is going to be understood a little bit better, because the way it's going right now, I believe we might need to do 10 more videos before this is all said and done, because from what I see, this is probably not going to end anytime soon. God help me. That's going to do it for this edition of the special report. Thanks again for watching. If you liked the video, please hit the thumbs up down below. I would love to also hear your comments about the story. Please be sure to leave a comment down below. Agree or disagree, I do not mind. I do love to hear all your comments, and I do respond to all that I can. Please hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more Geek Gaming Culture. I do appreciate that. Before I go, I would love to give you an OC remix track of the day, since that's what we're doing here now, and since we seem to be on the Guild Wars 2 kick anymore, let's go ahead and we are going to give you a remix track from Guild Wars 2. This one is called Mortem Stomp. This is based on the Heart of Thorns theme, if we all remember that expansion, which was originally made by someone by the name of Lena Chappelle, who, yeah, she hasn't really said anything to what's been going on with the Guild Wars 2 drama, the ongoing drama, which will probably get me about 10 more videos before this is all said and done, as I said. So here is the OC remix track of the day. It is again Mortem Stomp by Dusk. My name is Shady Shadow, and that just happened.